Okay, before we do anything else, no, there's a ton of Codex Codices. I'm not sure if I want to read all of them, but I am going to save. So we're going to read a couple of these, I guess. Let me see. I think we'll be skipping this. No, we can read a couple of them, I guess. Asari culture. Because of their long lifespan, Asari tend to have a long view, not common in other races. When they encounter a new species or situation, the Asari are more comfortable with an extended period of passive observation and study than immediate action. They are unfazed that some of their investments or decisions may not pay off for decades or centuries. Matriarchs can seem to make incomprehensible decisions, but their insight is evident when their carefully laid plans come to fruition. In interstellar relations, this long view manifests in an unspoken policy of centrism. The Asari instinctively seek to maintain stable balances of economic, political, and military power. Traditionally, Asari spread their influence through cultural domination and intellectual superiority. They invite new species of advanced development to join the galactic community, knowing that their ideals and beliefs will inevitably influence the existing culture. Asari government. The Asari came late to the concept of world government. For centuries, their homeworld of Thessia was dotted with loose confederacies of great republican cities. The closest Earth equivalent would be the ancient Mediterranean city-states. Yeah, I was just thinking that, actually. The old version of the Asari homeworld sounds a lot like the way Greece is for the longest amount of time. Since the Asari culture values consensus and accommodation, there was little impetus to form larger principalities. Rather than hoard resources, the Asari bartered freely. Rather than attack one another over differing philosophies, they sought to understand one another. Only in the information age did the city-states grow close. Communication over the internet evolved into an electronic democracy. Asari have no politicians or elections, but a freewheeling, all-inclusive legislature that citizens can participate in at will. Policy debates take place at all hours of the day in official chat rooms and forums moderated by specially programmed virtual intelligences. All aspects of policy are open to plebiscite at any time. In any given debate, the Asari tend to lend the most credence to the opinions of any matriarchs present, nearly always deferring to the experience of these millennia-old wise women. Achieving consensus through public debate may take too long in a crisis. In cases where prompt, decisive action is required, the Asari defer to the wisdom of local matriarchs. Turians culture. While the Turians are individuals with personal desires, their instinct is to equate the self with the group and set aside personal desires for the good of all. Turians are taught to have a strong sense of personal accountability, the Turian honor that other races find so remarkable. Turians are taught to own every decision they make, good or ill. The worst sin they can make in the eyes of their people is to lie about their own actions. Turians who murder will try to get away with it, but if questioned directly, most will confess the crime. Turians have a strong inclination toward public service and self-sacrifice, so they tend to be poor entrepreneurs. To compensate, they accepted the mercantile Volus as a client race, offering protection in exchange for their fiscal expertise. The Turian military is the center of their society. It is not just an armed force, it is an all-encompassing public works organization. The military police are also the civic police. The fire brigades serve the civilian population as well as military facilities. The Corps of Engineers builds and maintains spaceports, schools, water purification plants, and power stations. The Merchant Marine ensures that all worlds get needed resources. Yeah, I think Dragonster mentioned this in his Let's Play, but the Turians do sound an awful lot like the British Empire, don't they? That thought just struck me, not just because I'm watching his stuff and want to pilfer it or anything, but just because of that. And I've been watching a lot of history documentaries on World War I and World War II, and that comes up a lot. Turian military doctrine. Although they lack the brutality of the Krogan, the skill of the Asari, and the virtuosity of the humans, the Turian military has formidable discipline. Officers and NCOs are lifers with years of field experience. Enlisted personnel are thoroughly trained and stay calm under fire. Turian units don't break, even if their entire line collapses. They fall back in order, setting ambushes as they go. A popular saying holds, you will only see a Turian's back once he's dead. Boot camp begins on the 15th birthday. Soldiers receive a year of training before being assigned to a field unit. Officers train for even longer. Most serve until the age of 30, at which point they become part of the reserves. Even if they suffer injuries preventing frontline service, most do support work behind the lines. Biotics are uncommon. While admired for their exacting skill, Biotics' motives are not always fully trusted by the common soldier. The Turians prefer to assign their Biotics to specialist teams called cabals. Command and control is decentralized and flexible. Individual squads can call for artillery and air support. They make extensive use of combat drones for light duties and practice combined arms. Infantry operates with armor supported by overhead gunships. Strategically, they are methodical and patient and dislike risky operations. Tradition is important. Each legion has a full-time staff of historians who chronicle its battle honors in detail. The oldest have records dating back to the Turian Iron Age. Damn, those are old. If a legion is destroyed in battle, it is reconstituted rather than being replaced. The Turians recruit auxiliary units from conquered or absorbed minor races. Auxiliaries are generally light infantry or armored cavalry units that screen and support the main Turian formations. At the end of their service in the auxiliaries, recruits are granted Turian citizenship. Okay. The ones on the Protheans I'm actually gonna skip. And this guess thing, I'm going to scroll through it, but I'm not going to read it. You can look at it yourself if you want to slow down the video. They're basically Geth who hop and move real fast. Gargarin Station. It's basically a big human space station that was built before most others. I'm not going to read that. Ships FTL drive. I'm not going to read this, though I will scroll through it a few times so you can read it yourself if you're interested. I will read this one. Space combat, combat endurance. Heat limits the length and intensity of ship-to-ship combat. Starships generate enormous heat when they fire high-energy weapons, perform maneuvering burns, and run onboard combat electronics. In combat, warships produce heat more quickly than they can disperse it. As heat builds within a vessel, the crewed spaces become increasingly uncomfortable. Before the heat reaches lethal levels, a ship must win or retreat by entering FTL. After an FTL run, the ship halts, shuts down non-essential systems, and activates the heat radiation gear. Combat endurance varies by ship design and by the battle's location. Battles in the deep cold of interstellar space can go on for some time. Engagements close to a star are brief. Since habitable worlds are usually close to a star, battles over them are frantic. Okay. Biotic training I am not going to go over, though I will scroll through it. Sorry, but there were a lot of those and I was not going to read every single one. Human diplomatic relations. This I will skip.
Faster than ship mobility dominates space combat. The primary objective is to align the mass accelerator along the bow with the opposing vessel's broadside. Battles typically play out as artillery duels, fought at ranges measured in thousands of kilometers, though assaults through defended mass relays often occur at knife fight ranges, as close as a few dozen kilometers. Most ship-to-ship engagements are skirmishes between patrol vessels of cruiser weight and below, with dreadnoughts and carriers only deployed in full-scale fleet actions. Battles in open space are short and often inconclusive, as the weaker opponent typically disengages. Once a ship enters FTL flight, the combat is effectively over. There are no sensors capable of tracking them or weapons capable of damaging them. The only way to guarantee an enemy will stand and fight is to attack a location they have a vested interest in, such as a settled world or a strategically important mass relay.
And that's the last of the Codex Entries for the time being. So we are going to save it one last time just to be sure and end the recording here. So I know we didn't do much besides talking to people and reading Codex Entries, me scrolling through a few and listening to one, but I'm going to end the recording here. This has been DarkPhoenix Ninja 92, and thank you for watching my Let's Play Mass Effect, and I'll see you next time. If you've enjoyed this video and like what you're seeing on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe or leave a comment down below. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.